did you get on the path to painting huts?
So I was trying to think of what I wanted to draw, what did I paint, and have a collection of work. And I thought of drawing people, trees, or
Horses?
horses. Well, no, I was a bit overwhelmed by that stage. I learned to draw on horses. And then I was thinking of drawing like farm buildings around, you know, you see in countries growing around farm buildings or old down places. Caleb was with me, and he...
So you had affiliation for broken down, old,
buildings.
worthless,
I think it would be quite...
dilapidated structures.
So, Caleb was with me, and he had been recently into hunting and tramping and out into the and I suggested huts out in the bush. All I knew of huts was the name to go hut, Sonia, which is an easy walk, which is out the back of our place, about 2 hour walk from our house. They hope in the harbour, and we used to stay on there a lot. We used to stay there. So that's all I knew about huts. But yeah, Caleb suggested doing huts and suggested we spend 6 months in the bush. Just go bush for 6 months and draw. But and that plan changed, and so it became a series of trips for like 3 weeks or a week here and there for 2 years.
How long had you known Caleb by the time he came up with this idea?
I've known him for 6 months, but I met you properly. Well, I met you 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I know, I got to know him a bit more about 6 months ago, and then he'd come up to stay with us for 5 weeks as my friend. Just a friend.
So a stranger suggests you go bush for 6 months.
Yeah, of course I wasn't going to go alone with him, so I was looking around for someone else, and I came up with Tom, who is his brother, the red guy's brother. He's not here at the moment.
But they look similar-ish.
Similar.
I told you I'd get you on film.
Yeah, you're standing in for Thomas. But Thomas went to Paris, so you never know. So, I had 2 people. And Dad thought it was funny. He said I was going bush with 2 guys, a girl, and a gun. So I reckon I should name my book that.
It sounds like the start of a joke, really, doesn't it?
It was.
Do you think you'll ever write about your adventures?
Yes, next year. When we're married and someone knows while he's studying.
So you never know.
Yeah, I'm planning to write about it and to get a publisher or see what happens.
Good.
So this is a map of the North Island, which I drew and marked all the huts that I have been to. There's a lot more in actual fact. These are the ones that I have been to. So in the Kaimais, and the Urueras, in the Hawke's Bay area, the Kaiweka Ranges, and the Ruahine Ranges, and Karus, and the Whanganui National Park, and the Orongorongo Valleys down here, and Frampton South is up here, and then on the sailing trip we did from Lanes Cove all the way down the coast to Whangarei, Peach Cove, and then sail back again. Yeah, so that's just a map of it. Gives you an idea of where they are and what.
It's a mystery that might have your...
Roger's hut, the man who built it, he named the hut after his son, who was born when he was building it.
Cool.
Roger. It was built in the 1950s as a deer cutter's hut.
So deer cutters.
Deer cutter's hut. And there was too many deer in this way, they just ruined the forest. So a whole lot of deer cutters went out and just shot them and killed them. They made a few huts, and this one is one of them. It's just slabs, like...
I bet Caleb wished he was around at that time.
Yeah, he does.
So Roger's hut, it was built it's 1950, and it was all hand hewn out of beech.
So this is an inside shot. I've noticed that most of them are the outside.
It was drizzling the whole time we were there.
A lot of rain, yeah, there, so I decided to drive, which was good. Yeah,
Congratulations. It's a brilliant exhibition. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
It was built from materials there, so they cut trees down and built the whole hut from the materials there, and you can see on the walls the big slabs wooded, hand adzed with the it's they're all rough and looks quite cool. So I decided to draw the inside. This is a bit of the wall above the fireplace, and it's got, you know, usual deer skulls and bits and pieces and socks drying and frying pans and whiskey bottles and all of that. And in this hut, it was quite unique. They had someone had started the trend of poking your name with a nail in the lid of a can, just the round lid, cut off the can, and then nailing that to the walls. So it looked like badges all over the place.
Wow.
That was quite cool. I added my own name. If you go there, you can see Felicity Devrell.
That didn't make it into the drawing though.
No, it was somewhere else. Caleb nailed it up for me. Yeah, and it was raining the whole time we were there, so it was good place for it to rain because we wanted to draw inside.
So on this picture you've changed your focus. They've all been external pictures.
It's quite different, but I was sort of searching ways to do it a bit different. So yeah, because that's still a good big part of the hut, the inside. I did a sketch of the outside. This is what the hut looks like on the outside. There's quite long grass all around it, and a big deck with a chair, picnic table on the deck. We met some people walking through there. Some dock workers were going up to go and count bats and monitor bats. There's apparently a bat colony further up the track. And some other people tramping through. Yeah.
Did you see any bats?
No, we didn't see any bats. We didn't go there. Caleb went and he went hunting. He didn't catch anything, but he saw 2 dead trout and dead deer, and we reckon that's from 1080 poisoning. It was quite sad. Just dead animal. Yeah. But it was a really cool hut. One of my favourites from there. And it was very nice easy walk because there's a bike track into it. So you can bike in there. Yeah. It was quite cool.
You guys didn't take your bikes on that journey
No,
though?
we didn't. But it's a nice easy walk, just up a slope and then down. It was good. So the next hut after this is this one here, Teetotra Hut, which is quite close and built about the same time and the same reason. It's another deer colours hut. Like 3 years ago, I'm not sure when, a big beech tree fell across the roof and broke its back. So it's been redone up, so it's not...
Broke the back of the hut?
Broke the ring. So it's been done up since then, so it's not quite in like the original condition as the other one.
It's got some modern aspects
It's
to
got
it.
some modern aspects to it. It's painted orange. When we walked into this hut, there we saw a lot of deer, like a herd of deer on the hill. It was just before the dockland though, and it was still on private land, so Caleb was itching to get out his rifle, but he couldn't because he was not allowed to shoot there. So he walked another hour and he was...
Sorry, so what are the rules around shooting deer?
Oh, if it was private land, there was a 4-wheel drive track through, like about 2-hour walk, which is sort of, was farmland but it's going back to scrub. So there was a lot of deer on there we saw. Yeah.
And you can only shoot them on...
Unless you have permission from the owner, you can't shoot them.
Private land, okay.
And Caleb had a permit for shooting on the dockland. Yeah. So as soon as we got onto the dockland, he got out his rifle and assembled it because his rifle's a breakdown 223, I think. So he can pack it up in his pack. And we're going along the river, and I was looking down, following my feet, and I suddenly heard a bang, and Caleb's disappearing into the distance in the track, and I heard a couple more shots, and Here's Caleb, shot himself a deer.
Oh.
There's a little, quite a young deer. As across the creek, across the river, he charged across there and fished it up. Yeah. So that was quite exciting. For Caleb was really excited. It was his first deer he'd shot.
So the second hut was called the moon hut. What did you call this hut then?
Teetotal hut or the deer hut.
The deer hut.
Yeah. It was.
Caleb bags himself a deer hut.
Yeah. It was quite heavy. It's a good thing it was a small deer because the boys they cut it in half to carry it. They each had a half each.
Crazy.
It was dark by that time, so we're struggling along a track, trying to find the track in the dark.
So no possum liver stew that night then?
No, with the boys struggling along with half a deer bleeding down their backs. Lovely. So we got to the hut and we stayed an extra night there. I think we stayed 3 nights there. Caleb cut up the deer and had venison steak, and the boys ate venison sandwiches with venison for the bread.
Did you get sick of deer after a while?
No, not then. And Caleb dried it over a smoky manuka fire. Cut it up in strips and dried it. It worked really well. Salted it and dried. Smoked, dried sort of thing. Yeah, and so while he was doing that, I sat up on there was a slip across the river, like a big bank, and it had a bit of a landslide, and I climbed up there and sat dug myself up a perch and drew the hut. There was really long grass all around it, so it's the only way I could see it from any distance to draw it.
Yeah, it doesn't get mown very often up there.
No. Some people bring horses up there. We saw it from the hut book. They bring horses there. And there was one Don Anderson, who dropped by for a cup of tea every now and then, according to the hut book. It seems
They have a visitor's logbook in there,
yes,
do they?
in all the huts there's a hut book, they call it.
Cool.
Everyone writes a name and the details of when they're coming in and where they're planning to go out again. And it's very interesting to read some.
I guess.
Yeah. As Don Anderson was a familiar character in there. Dropped in for a cup of tea.
So this is Felicity Deverell, and she's going to do a walkthrough of some of her paintings. This is the
Art of a Hut exhibition.
Cool. Tell us
Yep.
about the first artwork. Yeah.
It's a project I did over 2 years, tramping to North Island backcountry huts. And I tramped to each hut that I draw in this whole exhibition. And this is Danny's Carrying Hut, which is the first hut.
The first hut you ever drew. Wow.
Yeah, the first hut. Went there with Caleb and Thomas.
Did you sit and have a picnic on that little table there?
Yeah, I ate possum kidney on that table. We came into here and
I imagine
Caleb,
you only ate possum kidney because it was the only thing going.
because Caleb insisted it would be a good idea.
Yeah.
He trapped. There's a lot of possums there. It's quite a popular hut,
Wow.
so not a lot of trappers go there, but he took his traps. And
So how roomy are these huts? That looks like it's got quite a lot of windows.
It's actually got 2 rooms.
Yep.
The room in there, and yeah, it's blue.
Cool.
Yeah, and yeah, drew that sitting in the hot sun, beginning of summer. Thought it was all going to be like that, all nice and sunny, sitting in the sun, drawing nuts, but you know, maybe not.
So you did this over a summer though. It wasn't a winter
Yeah,
trip.
this was about the same time last 2 years ago,
Yep.
November. Yeah, middle of November, beginning of summer. At one point, a whole group of trampers and children came up. And Caleb was the hero because he was going around catching possums and hunting for goats, and just following around, calling him the adventure man. But yeah.
Bear Grylls.
Yeah, call him the Bear Grylls man. Yeah. Then we walked out of that hut 5 hours to the Te Aroha trail. So
Wow.
no, it's not the.
Yeah.
It's Mount Te Aroha.
Okay.
Yeah, in the Kaimai ranges.
Yeah.
So we walked from that car park and not the shorter car park from the top of the range because we need to go down to the next hut. We drove around. 5 5 hours out of that hut, and then we drove down the range to the car park for this hut, and we started walking in, and it took a long time, and about after 3 hours we're getting very tired, and you can see this photo here of the range. But this range here, this is really quite, we'd go up and down and up and down at the end of the walk, because the hut was about there. And it was so exhausted, and it was the first trip, so it wasn't that fitting. And so we called this hut the Moon Hut, because when we were exhausted and walking up there, Caleb had this quote he kept repeating to encourage himself. The quote from JF Kennedy was, "We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard." And so we called this hut the Moon Hut.
Cool.
There's a big open fire, and drew it from the little bush sitting on a little stump.
So the trek up to this hut was quite a grueling one, was it?
Quite a grueling.
And how many hours did it take to get up to this one?
About 5 hours. It should have taken 3, but we were not for it. Well, I wasn't very fit at the time because it was the second walk.
Yeah.
And that morning we had walked 5 hours from the last hut. So, yeah, but I soon got pretty fit after. By then, yeah, I got so tired that one of these really steep bits, I was delusioned and thinking I'll just take myself up and then I'll come back for my pack. And then I had to carry both at the same time. Yep.
So this was hut 2?
This is hut 2. Motakapi.
Cool.
And then we left the Kaimai. After we did another hut, but it's not an exhibition, didn't make it.
Only the best made it to the
Only the best
exhibition.
made it, didn't.
Yeah, right.
No, it's a bad joke. This is in the Te Oroero Ranges, and we took a while trying to find this hut because we had a map, and the actual roads were different from our map because they are forestry roads, and the forest had recently been cut down, and all the roading had been changed. So we wandered around there for a bit, and we gave up, and because it was quite late when we got to here. So we decided to go sleep down at the car park and near the lake, and just try again in the morning and have the whole day. And the next morning, early, Caleb was wandering around with his fishing rod, and he saw a man come with a ute and start dumping fish into the water, eels from his tank in the back of his truck. And Caleb wandered along as he does, and he started chatting to him, and
These were live eels?
you live eels, little ones, because there's a dam nearby, and he takes them through the dams. He catches them beyond.
He rescues them?
Yeah, and he takes them through and lets them out in both ways.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's been an eel man. He told us all about the eels and how he'd caught really, really big eels.
The Bear Grylls man and the eel man.
Yeah, the eel man.
We're talking.
Yeah. And we told him about our story trying to find the hut. So he offered to come and drive us up the roads and help us look for them.
For the huts?
Yep, look for the beginning of the track. Because we couldn't find the beginning of the track in the bush.
Cool.
So he took us up and first he took us home to his house, and we went to his office, and these huge stuffed eels on the wall. Like,
oh wow.
really big stuffed eels on the wall. And he told us about an even bigger one that he told as well. So
Crazy.
it's quite amazing. And
How big was the biggest eel?
oh, quite big.
Longer than that?
Yeah,
Wow.
quite big. Anyway, he took us up. We drove around a maze of forestry roads, and Tom had his compass and a map sticking out the window because the metal of the truck affected it. And with that, we found where we should be for the beginning of the track. And so Bill, the name was, the eelman Bill, he left us there. He left us. We hadn't found the beginning of the track yet, but we're in the most likely place. So he just left us in the middle of nowhere and said, I'll send some people to look for you if you haven't back in 3 days.
Dropped you in the wilderness.
We had enough food for 3 days, so we set off, and 50 metres around the track, around the corner, we saw this orange triangle, and there was the track.
Cool.
And it was all easy from there. It was a walk up the river. Yeah, it's a very beautiful place. Very airy, and like you might meet a lost tribe just coming around the corner. somewhere. It's kind of got a haunted feel about it. The whole field.
And how many trampers did you see in the hut?
None. None in this one.
You're all by yourself.
Yep, there was a few. From the hut book we saw mostly hunters and local people or dock workers come here. Just trapping fish. Yeah. Huge log fire. We put huge logs in it. Had a roaring fire. Yeah. So we stayed there and I drew this sitting in the sun.
And what's this down the bottom here? Is that the long drop, is it?
There's a dunny, it's about in there. It's leaning over, like height and angle, and you go sitting like this and there's meters all around. It's quite disturbing.
Sorry, how are you sitting?
Yeah, it's one of those unique dunnies. I had to do a sketch of it in my dunny book. Yeah.
No heart drawing is complete until you've had a sketch in the dummy as well.
Yeah, the dunny, yeah. So that's Mangamuku hut.
Cool. Okay.
And the next hut was a little bit of an adventure as well. So after Mangamuku hut, we drove around here in the car to the new track, and we managed to find the beginning of the track, which was great. But almost halfway along we sort of lost it. It was very vague, quite not well marked, and the boys spent a lot of time looking at their map, figuring out exactly where we were with the compass on the map, and I was thinking we should just follow the track. Anyway, we managed to lose the track and go down a spur off the ridge because we were walking along the ridge. But there were several side ridges that could mislead you, so we got misled. And halfway down we realised that.
So these tracks, they weren't very well marked?
Not in the Uruguays. It's
Okay.
quite, it's not a popular track area. It's more local people use it.
Yeah.
Hunters, who know the place but they don't.
Those that are familiar with the area?
Yeah, we were.
Okay. Not a tourist track?
Not really. So we lost the track, and halfway down the ridge we realised we lost the track, but according to our map we knew exactly where we were. We did, and that the river was down there and the hut was just up the river, and all we needed to go is the river and follow the river to get to the hut. So we decided to keep going down, and we did, through a bit of a gully and a steep creek to the river. It's a bit of a scramble, but we got there. And when she got to the river, it was about maybe 8 o'clock at evening. And it was maybe about then. And we were very happy to get to the river, of course. So we had a rest, so then we got up and around the corner, and then we saw a beautiful waterfall. And it was kind of unpassable. It was very high, and it was in a canyon. We ended up going straight up a scree slope. We were thinking about trying to get around just up the hill and around. You'd think easy enough, but the bush was very, very thick and very, very steep, and it wasn't really doable. And it was a cliff on either side of the waterfall. So we ended up scrambling up this scree slope and up a narrow ridge until about 10 o'clock at night or whenever it got dark, and then we decided to just stay there the night because it's no use scrambling around the bush at night. So suddenly we'd be going straight up in the morning, down the ridge. We found the track again, down the ridge, and to the hut in the right, proper way.
It was an open fire, or did they have like a hot plate or something that
There
you
was
could
an open fire in this hut.
hang your pots
big
over?
open fire like the last hut, and lots of foxgloves around. There's this Caleb in the window. Sitting there. When I was there, I did a watercolour sketch of this hut. It's in my sketchbook. And I did this painting later in my studio.
And what's the little drum around the back? It looks like there's a
That's
little.
a wood shed.
There's a woodshed, is it?
Yep. There's a wood shed in there.
Well, we had a few visitors. How many things have sold lately? Did you sell your painting?
No, I think it's still in storage.
Well, this is the second trip, which took 2 weeks in the Kawikas with Jojo, Pauline and Toma and Lewis and Caleb and Lee, 6 of us. It's quite crowded. So this is Middle Hill, the first hut, and the first one I did pastel on with colour. I decided to take some pastels. We did that, walked up there, spent an afternoon and a night, and then walked on to the next hut, which is Ballard Hut. Up a steep ridge and then down. It was a very beautiful walk. Ballard Hut is a little hut and it was a tight squeeze for 6 of us and very warm, the fire was raging. But the next morning it was really cold when I was down in this little gully drawing the hut. It was just really shady and it was cold. I had all my layers on, it was quite high up in the range. Even though it was summer, January, it was summer, I had all my layers and gloves on and everything. So that's what I remember most about the hut. I quite like my drawing though, what it turned out. This is Makino Hut, the next hut from Ballard Hut. When I first walked into this hut, I saw this scene right like that. And I thought, I'm going to draw that because I love the tree. Beautiful big beech tree right there. So I decided to draw a tree this time. Because all the huts are quite similar in the Kawik range in this trip. So I had to find different ways to make them look different. And I quite like how this turned out. Spent 5 hours of drawing on that one. Intense trip this one. I spent half the day drawing and half walking and then there's sleep. And then I was writing or doing my sketchbook and so it was very intense, not much time for anything. But drawing and writing and sleeping and walking.
So you took a diary of all these huts?
I took a journal and wrote everything every day or when I could. Kiwi mouth. Another bright orange box hut in the Kawikas. I did a pastel drawing of it, and when I was drawing there was a group of people standing around talking, my friends and some trammers on walked by. But I just managed to get Caleb, who was standing in the doorway, leaning there, in his fishing rods. This is Old Manson Hut in the Kawikas. So after 2 days of tramping we got here. It's a dirt floor, Hessian sack bunks, and very cold and very smoky open fire. And we were there in the middle of summer, but it was very cold at night. I didn't have a very good sleeping bag then. I got one later, after this trip. There was a little creek for water outside and didn't have a tank. And we made a dam in it to collect our water. Yeah. And the boys had wood chopping competitions here. And
So who were the 2 boys with you on this trip?
oh, there were 6 of us all together.
Oh, this was a big bunch. Okay.
And there was Caleb and Toma and Jojo and Lewis and then Pauline and me. 6. This is Rocks Ahead huts in the Kawikas. And one of our favourite huts to stay at. It was really fun, it was really sunny and hot and we were a bit lower down from the colder huts so it was warm again. It was a beautiful river, it was really cold, and full of trout and eels. And there was a cable car across the river, which we had fun going across all. After Old Manson Hut, which was cold and smoky and just miserable, this was just awesome. It was a bit miserable drawing it though. I had to sit in the riverbed on the rocks and it was really hot and there was midges everywhere. I had to dunk my head in the river for every 10 minutes to keep cool. But I did this painting later in my studio from the drawing I did, which is here. This is a drawing I did of it, sitting in the river. So my painting I did from this drawing and memory, so all made up colours and all from memories. Caleb and I plan to go back to this hut sometime. It's just really cool. Caleb wants to raft down the river that goes all the way up. Hut is Backridge Hut, and this comes after Roxy Heath Hut. It was a really, really long climb up through the bush from the river for a long way, and then along the ridge, and then over a little ridge, and you look down and you see this view of the hut at the bottom of the valley and just opens out. It's really beautiful, especially after you've been walking for a long time. It's a really beautiful sight to just see the hut there. So I decided I'd draw that and add a bit of mountains to the drawings, get a bit of variety. There's another standard 6-bunk hut, no, 4 bunks actually.
It's really at the bottom of a valley, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny, in this hut, because often me and Pauline would double if there was only 4 bunks, and then someone would sleep on the floor. And in this hut we decided we were going to have a bunk to ourselves, so we made the boys double, which is quite entertaining. We ate a lot of fish here, which Caleb caught at Roxy. He carried it over here and ate it. And then next morning, very early, we walked out all the way back to Kiwi Mouth Hut, and then past Kiwi Mouth Hut down to Cameron Hut. And at Cameron Hut it was raining, and it was the last hut, and everyone was all tired and miserable, and I didn't do a proper drawing of the hut. I just did a sketch in my sketchbook and took a photo, and later I did this at home.
This one?
This is another painting of Roxy Head Hut. It's a dandelion, which is a weed. And no, it's not a native flower.
So you were out there drawing weeds?
I was out there drawing weeds, and I thought it was quite interesting, sort of ironic. And there's a hut and a weed. What man brings into the bush? So this is Murderer's Hut in the Rohini Ranges. It's on a trip we did in the winter, 2014, with Caleb and Nathaniel. Murderer's is named after a convicted murderer who hid out here about way back 100 years ago or so, and it was named after him. Also known as Ellis Hut.
Yes, I like to go out.
It was right next to a pine forest, and I sat under the trees and drew the hut. This is my drawing here,
I did a painting course
which you've seen,
here.
and then this is my painting I did back in the studio. It's quite large, I was going to do that out there. So, yeah, and while I was drawing, Caleb and Nathaniel were eating hoo-hoo grubs. They were cutting up old logs and picking out hoo-hoo grubs and frying.
So you guys really did get quite hungry out there, didn't you?
No, it's just, Caleb who likes to eat anything available.
Yeah.
This is the drawing I did of Murderer's Hut, Ellis Hut. I did this one, sitting in front of the hut. It's quite a smoky hut inside. The fire was really smoky, so we slept on the floor in front of the fire, so we could breathe and survive. And the next day we cooked on that fire outside. No, they're actually pretty good. A lot of the stoves in the huts, in the newer huts, they're good for heating, but if you want to cook on them, they're terrible. They're not, the hot plate on the top is not designed for cooking, I don't think. Most people bring.
Oh, it doesn't conduct the heat properly, or?
Yeah, it's got a. I just don't think it's directly on above the flames, so it's very efficient for heating, but for cooking not. Most people bring gas cookers.
And that's what you guys did?
Yes, for emergency, but mostly we just cook and cook slowly.
This one was actually a fresh possum. We caught it about 9 o'clock at night. It was just on its fate of climbing the tree, and Caleb went up with a stick and whacked it on the back of the head, and that was dinner that night.
Oh, Caleb, excellent. So he took it out with a stick?
Yeah.
No gunshot, no slingshot, no stealthy manoeuvres?
There was a second possum.
Second possum.
There's a
on
second
the
possum
scene.
in another
Yep.
hut. So they weren't relatives or anything.
Ah, okay, yep.
So this possum got its head blown off clean.
Two separate incidences.
Yeah, and that was quite tasty. We actually stewed it up because the possum meat is really tough. If you just cook it like a steak, it rubber.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was maybe the toughest night that you experienced?
Well, probably the last hut. It was a real hard climb up to the. It was like on the top of the ridge, and it was actually hailing. So it was snowing, and really windy at the top. And
Who was there on this last night?
This one's just me and Caleb and Felicity, and it was just we're hiking up to the last hut, and I had a real real bad stomach bug, and it was not fun walking with that. And yeah, we're at the top. We got to the top, and it almost got blown off. It was so windy, and the snow was this deep.
Oh,
And we actually had to stand.
sorry, that's from the ground, is it?
Yeah. Not
show
on the ground, just like that.
So it came up to your waist.
Come up to my waist. Yeah.
Snow up to your waist.
Yeah, and the bushes, the little shrubs like that, you know, and they were frozen, so we had to walk on top of them. Otherwise, you fall in between, and it's really hard to walk. So we actually.
So did you have, what sort of heating did you have in the huts?
So most of them have got like a fireplace. Hot belly style thing, quite common in New Zealand, if you're lucky. Some don't have that and they just have an open fire, which is not pleasant when they don't work well.
And you had ample fuel for the fire?
Yep, some huts actually had like coal in them, stacked up wood and stuff.
Nice.
And
Okay.
there was other huts where we had absolutely nothing, and we had to get wet firewood, and that wasn't so fun.
Did it ever rain?
A couple of first huts it was raining, but
They're waterproof.
snow as well.
Yeah.
It was quite pleasant when it was snowing because everything was frozen instead of melting and wet and soggy.
Oh, crazy. Oh. And what was probably the more memorable of experiences?
Probably getting home.
Getting home. Was that the highlight of the trip?
For Ducky Hut, this hut is not going to be. Once it is due for repair, it's not going to be repaired, it's going to be pulled down. Because Doc decided that not enough people go there, and so it's doomed to disappear one day. Which is quite sad because it's really cute, it's got a cute little pot-belly stove inside, and obviously a few local people quite like it and go there quite regularly. Yeah. And so I did this painting on site, looking over there. It's one of the, I think it's the first painting of a hut I actually did at the hut, or the second, yeah. In the Ruahine area, Hawke's Bay. It's called Howlett's Hut. It's rather a serious sort of botanist school teacher who loves going out and watching the built in South Place. And this is the second hut built there.
You've done your research.
And we were tramping up there in quite deep snow. It was quite deep, it was fresh snow. And it was quite a struggle climbing up there. And we followed a track, a possum track, all the way up the ridge. There's just one lone possum walked up. He stopped on the porch and then kept going along the ridge. He walked all the way up there on the porch along the
There was quite a lot of walking involved.
So, we stayed there, very cold night. Caleb couldn't light the matches when we got in because his fingers are so cold. I had to do it. My hands were warm and my lips.
I thought this was when you were going to say you had to huddle together for warmth or
We
something.
managed to get the fire going, which is good. They were really nice. Yeah, it was really windy night. Was it? Really windy and wild. That was the next morning. I did this in the morning. It was starting to rain. It was suddenly warmed up and it was melting. And we had to get away quickly because the river was going to flood. We had to cross the river. It was down the ridge back this way, and it's quite a way down. And we had to cross it a couple of times. So it was going to flood. So we had to
I like the feeling of going up into nothing.
yeah, there was a lot of mist and clouds. Yeah.
Just look at it and watch, feel the alarm.
So where were you?
This is
No, I mean, where were you sitting for the painting?
I didn't actually paint the whole thing yet. I did a sketch and had a photo, and they did that back at home.
Because I thought it would be quite cold still sitting here.
Yeah, very cold. Yeah. It's like the Rohini ranges in Hawke's Bay.
Oh, well, I think we'll go.
It's a very nice outside. It's owned by a club, and so it's well looked after, well loved. Yeah. Sunrise hut in the Ruahine Ranges in Hawke's Bay. It's quite a big hut, quite popular hut with a lovely track going up like a highway. It's easy to walk. And when we walked up, there was lots of snow and it was falling. It was really beautiful. It looked like Narnia, all the trees under there. And I sat outside the hut and I drew while it was snowing on my paper. And it was alright. The snow would just brush off, and as long as I didn't breathe on it or it would melt, it worked quite well. It's Frampton's hut up in Northland on the west coast, Hokianga Harbour. And this is just a one-off trip. There's just one hut in the area, or a dog hut. And it's quite, I've been there a few times with friends, and it's off the back of the friends, where friends live. So yeah, it's quite a personal hut. We spent some good times in that hut with friends. And I went up for a weekend with 4 of my friends, and I sat in the sun. I took this whole canvas up there because it was not a long walk, so I could carry the whole thing in. It was actually the only hut I've carried such a big canvas in for the hut. And yeah, did it in the really bright sun on my canvas, so when I took it inside it turned out a lot darker. So it's a bit darker, but yeah. I tried to do this cool thing with the grass, like slightly abstract and then merging into the really realism. So I got a hut pass which Doc gave me for a year. And then we'd buy hut tickets, which are $5 a hut for most standard huts. And just get hut tickets from the dock office, and then you write them out and put them in a little box in each hut. Send it down.
So there's no real toll booth where someone sits there
No.
24/7 waiting for.
It's hot, based on honesty. I'm sure lots of people go through without paying, but yeah, that's good. To support it, because you use them a lot. You need to keep them up. So yeah, and it's not expensive. These huts are from the Orongaronga Valley near Wellington, and that's a valley full of private huts. And we contacted the Orongaronga Club because they're not dock huts. So we contacted the club and they offered us to stay in Nikau Hut, which is where we stayed. Can you see from there? We stayed there as a tin hut, one of the older ones with coal frame and an open fire. We didn't smoke, but we woke up one morning with ash all over us because it got quite windy. Yeah, so I painted that, and when I painted, there was a big tree right in front of me. I was painting it, so I didn't want that tree in there because I couldn't see the hut. So I just edited it out. And by the end of the painting, I couldn't even see the tree that was right in front of me. I just totally I took it out of my brain. It was quite funny. So you see the photo.
You were able to erase the tree
I
and
was able
see
to
through the
erase
tree?
the tree in my mind.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of mind over matter then.
It just shows that you can only see what you want to see. What you don't want to see is invisible.
Yeah.
We had a little wheelbarrow at this hut, which was quite cool. Guillaume had quite fun toting the little wheelbarrow down to the woodshed and back, which is quite good for a hut. And Jerusalem and Guillaume went on this trip. And Jerusalem went and shot us a pig, which has kept us in meat for a while. And Jerusalem's theory is that if you just take some starch and take yourself a knife and a rifle, then you'll just get some meat, and we'll just get some meat. So that was his plan. And so I went along with him. He got meat on the second day, he shot the pig, and we got an eel also on the first night. So we had no trouble with food at all. And we didn't bring much meat. So yeah, this is a painting I did in Nikau Hut. in the Orongorongo Valley. We stayed there for 11 days. One of the days it was raining very hard and flooding everywhere. And I spent the whole day inside on this tiny canvas painting the shelf above the open fireplace. It was a rifle and some kerosene lanterns and whiskey bottles and my hat. Yeah, and I really like the colour of the tin wall behind. It was just a silver tin, but there's layers of paint and everything on it, so it looked really cool and I tried to catch the colours. Yeah, I spent a long time in it. It's a very small painting, but I spent a long time painting it. And it's one of my favourites. And you can't.
So you're looking for a good home for this
I'm
one?
looking for a good home. And it's not expensive because it's very small. If it doesn't sell, I'll keep it. I tend to like doing that on the best. All of my favourite drones. Oh, maybe.
All the good ones you
maybe
keep?
I'll just keep that. Maybe, hopefully it doesn't sell and I'll keep it. But I don't even have a house to put him on the wall.
That's all right. All you need is a shelf.
Yeah, no, I need a shelf. So this is Bora in the Orongorongo Valley, and this is one of the few dock huts there. All the huts in there, as soon as the current owner dies, the huts go to dock rather than going carried down. That's the agreement because it's on council land and all of that. So most of the hut owners are not very happy about that and they're trying to change it. This is one of the few ones that has gone to dock so far. It's just a square box and I did a quick just drawing with my pen. So I had no pencil beforehand. I just went straight in with my pen, freehand. So I had to do it I had to be quite careful with lines because I had just make no mistakes. And then also in the this is Bainetty, it's one of the oldest huts in the Orongorongo Valley. It's open, one of the unlocked huts. So everyone's staying there. It's very low roof, so you don't bang your head into go in there. It's very damp and dark, but it's kind of...
Sorry, so most of these huts are locked, is that what you're saying?
In the Orongorongo Valley, they're private.
Okay.
So they're all locked, of course, in there. Quite personalised, and some of them have hot tubs and all of that.
Wow.
Which is quite unique. Yeah, but this is an open one.
Did you stay at any with a hot tub?
No, we just stayed at one hut the whole time in the Orongorongo Valley because they're so close together. And the furthest one was only 2 hours walk away, which was great. So I had lots of drawing done in that trip and less walking, which was great. And this was the one I did there of Bainetty. And then over here, because I'm is Power Hut. Power Hut. As in a stand of beech trees, also in the Orongorongo Valley. In a stand of beech trees, and it looked really beautiful, the light coming through, and the dappled light, the beech trees. I really enjoyed painting that one, or drawing it rather. So this is Blue Range Hut, in the Tararua Ranges. I did this drawing sitting out under the beech trees, and it always rains in the Tararua Ranges, or it's misty, or it's drizzling, or it's raining, or otherwise wet. But the first day we were here at Blue Range Hut, it was blue, which was, I thought, oh, this is going to be a beautiful trip, it's going to be blue sky, I never seen it rains here. So I had a really good time drawing this, and I did something different. I added colour to the blue hut, and the rest was just the pencil. It's a really cool hut because it's full of a group of nurses from an antenatal clinic came up and put signs everywhere from the clinic. So it's got bells on the door and the labels, the bunks are labelled for patients, number 1 and 2 and so forth. And the gunny's a social worker's office. And yeah, and it says, I think it says something about parking for 10 minutes on the side and something like that. And various other quite funny little things all about the hut. And back at home I did a painting of the hut. I used just this drawing as reference and all the colours and everything are from memory and my imagination. And yeah, I sold this pretty much straight after I finished painting it, because a few people who really loved the hat saw it and they wanted it. Yeah, I did this, as I said, in my studio just from memory, in oils.
Tell me, this is the only wide format of all the paintings. What made this one different?
I just thought it would fit something wide, and I was also at the time thinking of doing something different. So I was trying to think of different ways to put the hats, because they're often quite similar, or just a bit. Yeah, I actually had a vision of this, had an image of the painting in my head before I did it, and I just saw something wide and long. Yeah. And it worked really well, and I had to spend a lot of time doing this trees, even though they're quite vague, but quite like how it turned out, and quite misty and blurry into the background. And then it has depth with the ranges, the Taro ranges in the background. Yeah. And that's Blue Range hat, Taro ranges.
Okay.
So, cone hut and the Taro ranges. And so it's quite an old hut, another slab hut that was built with materials from the site. It was actually destroyed at one point and then reassembled at a different site here. It's got. So we came here there was a lot of us on that trip. I think there was 7 of us. Quite a lot of my friends didn't come. It was a really great trip. Also at this hut, inside for the sleeping, there was just one big bench to sleep on. And so there was all of us, and there was 2 Norwegian hunters. They were trapping. It was quite interesting. And so we all lined up to sleep on the one long the platform for sleeping on the mattresses. It was quite entertaining. All squished up, lined up. We got a photo, which was quite hilarious. We managed to get some sleep. Not much moving though. Yeah. So there was a river next to this hut, which we had good fun just washing in it and swimming in it and refreshing ourselves. And it was one of the few days that wasn't raining in the Taro, which was great. Quite a few of the huts I couldn't actually properly draw because of the rain. Yeah. Next time I go to the Taro, I'll be more prepared for the rain. I did this painting later in my studio, and I decided to do a big square. It's quite an unusual format, and I spent ages trying to get the composition right. Because often a square is quite hard to do with good composition. I'm not sure about this. It's a kind of different feel to the painting than the actual drawing that I have, or the actual hut. There's something of a bit of a fairy tale about the painting. Somehow I've gotten there, because I painted it from mostly my imagination and memory, and the drawing that I had. So the colours are made up, and the background. So it somehow had that sort of fairy tale quality that came in because of that. Which often happens. Yep, it's cone hut and just another standard box hut with 6 bunks. I drew this, it was raining because it was the Taros, that's why it was raining. And the boys set up a tarpaulin for me in the trees. So I sat under that, quite good, and drew the hut in the rain. It was quite a good day. When we slept here, and in the morning, we got woken up very early by a helicopter. It came in about 6 o'clock. It got a break in the clouds, and they came in and dropped off a few dock workers who were counting birds. So they went off in the bush, sat in the bush for a while and counted the birds, what they heard. It was quite interesting, so we talked to them. Went back to bed, or not. Yeah, and there's a river going past. We did lots of washing, as we do when we come across a river, washing lots of socks. So there's a washing line in the picture on that. Wash and dry, though it rained. It's a little distance. And it's Howell Creek Hut in the Taiaroa Ranges. So this is another of my favourite drawings out of the whole collection. I really like this one. It's Field Hut in the Taiaroa Ranges. And we went up there and I spent a while trying to figure out how to draw it, from what angle to draw it, because it was on a narrow ridge and there's trees all around it, so you can either do it from below and look up at here, or from above and you just see the roof and out of the wall. My friends were considering putting me up a tree to draw it from, but in the end I sat on the path and looked up at the hut and just drew that, and in my drawing I eliminated a lot of the trees and just left it blank and white, and sort of really simplified it and went for a really nice design. And then I added a bit of colour with the red roof with some pastel. Yeah, and I really like the effect, and there's a little orange triangle on the tree, which is very classic and which everyone who's been tramping a lot will love that little thing, especially if they've been lost once or twice. Also, when I was sitting there drawing, the Whanganui Tramping Club all came tramping in for their Christmas lunch. So that was quite funny, and I showed them some of my drawings.
Sorry, what time of the year were you there?
This was December in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the Whanganui Tramping Club tramped in and had their Christmas lunch, and we were inside and they're outside. We were just looking at them eating all their food, making comments about being hungry and all that. And they left us. It was really nice. And I showed them a little bit of a display of my drawings I'd done.
Oh, cool.
So I couldn't complete the collection without doing a still life of all my gear. These are my tramping boots, a sketchbook, the little dunny book, Caleb's shirt.
Sorry, the Dunny book?
The dunny book. There's a little watercolour sketchbook that I filled with pictures of the dunnies or long drops, toilets at each hut. And there's Caleb's screen shirt, which he wore through at the back, so there's holes in it. And my hat and my coat. And the picture of Cone Hut, the drawing. It's all in my studio. I set it up and yeah. And here's a picture of my cat. She gets into everything that I do, so she even tried to get into the painting. I decided that.
So which cat is this?
This is Pansy. He's always in my face. Yeah, so that's the still life of my tramping gear. So this is Lane's Cove in Whangaroa Harbour, and on this trip was sailing trip with my brother and Guillaume. So my brother Nathaniel and Guillaume Boudin. We all three of us went on Destiny and sailed down the coast of Whangarei. And this was the first hut in Whangaroa Harbour, which is actually 2 hours from where I live. But it's the first time I'd painted, I hadn't done it yet. So we stayed there a few times with my family, had some good holidays. So it was really nice to paint that one.
I think this is the only hut I've ever stayed at.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. And then
Sorry, did you do many huts around the Tongariro National Park?
no,
No.
one before.
I've stayed on some of the Ruapehu huts.
Yeah. Mm. So this is Cape Brett hut. We sailed down there and Guillaume dropped me off in a little dinghy in the cove and I climbed up the cliff because the other side was a bit rough, so we went around the back, around in there in the bay there. I climbed up the cliff and I painted the hut for a couple of hours. I acted really quick because the light was changing really fast. It was the sunlight and there was a big black cloud that had just passed. Just rained and then the sun came out after it. So that was in the morning with the sun really bright on the sea and the black rain clouds moving away and the sun on the hut. Yeah, it was a beautiful place.
When you do these paintings, do you do some pencil first or did you just go straight on with the painting?
No, with this painting I just went straight on with paint and drawing quickly. Yeah, and with painting outside you've got to do it quite quickly, especially if the sun is out, because the light completely changes within 2 hours. You've got a different picture in front of you. So you can't really paint more than 2 hours if it's sunny. So it's not.
And painting at the beginning or end of the day, is that?
It depends on your preference. A lot of people like painting beginning and end when there's more shadows and it's more dramatic. And some people like painting best when it's cloudy and it's just really soft light. Just depends what you like best. I haven't figured that myself. I like to try everything. Yeah. So and then we sailed down to Whangarei, and this is Peach Cove. Guillaume and I tramped over Mount Lion, and it was a 3-hour walk, but we did 1.5 hours, which was quite fun. Lots, about 1,000 steps up and then down. And it was really nice to be walking again after sailing for 2 days. And the ground was rocking though, like this. I was walking along with my bare feet. Yeah, we got there and I climbed a tree, so did a sketch up to the tree.
Felicity is here this morning. Is she there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a sketch of the hut from the tree, and then a couple
wow.
of people came in, and I
Oh,
was
very
up
cool.
the tree drawing. Yeah, and they didn't see me for a while. That was quite funny.
Hiding in the tree.
Yeah, and then I looked down, and they were looking at me and laughed. It was, yeah. And then I climbed down, and I did a painting here of it. Oh, it just quite good. Went quickly and fast, but on the boat it got smudged. Someone put their hand or foot on something across it,
You've got
and
quite
it went a big smear across. So I fixed that
quite a few
in my studio.
to do.
Seems to look alright. Yeah,
Yeah.
We need to zoom in for a close inspection of the smudge.
it was.
Looks like the work's been repaired though.
Yeah, more or less. Very good.
So we just wanted to talk to Felicity about the frames. It looks like there's a lot of work and care that have been put into these frames. Can you tell us a little bit of the story behind where this wood came from?
Yes, my dad made the frames, and he's a boat builder, so he's been meticulous and perfect. It will have to be very straight. And if he hasn't, he's like, oh no, that's terrible. But I think he's done an amazing job. And the wood is kauri, native kauri, which we had, because our house is made of kauri.
So this is like a shout out to your sponsors.
Just a shout out to my dad.
Yep.
Who's awesome. And I designed the frames with Dad's help. I wanted really wide, and it has a bit of a slope in, which you can't really tell, but it just draws you into the picture more. Yeah, and I made all the mats myself. So thank you to my neighbour Sally, who has a mat cutter, and I went around there and I cut up all the mat, which was quite cool. And so we decided how to go with a narrow mat and a wide frame, which looks really cool. It looks really good, and the kauri is amazing. And he oiled it with Harlem oil. So we spent 3 weeks hard work doing this. We got them just in time before the exhibition opened. So it was quite well done. Thank you, Dad. We're hoping. He's going to ask us a question once he's finished his mouth. I'll interview him first because he's chewing.
It's good. I need a bit of B-roll, you know, a couple of candid shots. It's really nice when people would just be themselves. This is the Caleb that so many of us won't see in the public light, but Caleb alone in his bedroom, very much like this. Out with his friends.
Anyway,
So before we get on to this, can you just say what sort of inspired or how did you get on the path to painting huts?
I wanted to be an artist. Oh, and this is my niece. She wants to be an artist too. Hey, do you want my stuff?
I think she wants to be Elsa.
Your princess stuff.
Someone get rid of that little midget. Quick. Who does she belong to? Now. We're calling in security for those two.
Okay. One rainy day 2 years ago in the middle of winter, I decided to changed my life forever.
That's the one.